Hi, everyone. It's Monday night once again, and welcome to AMN Academy. This is 9.09er English in partnership with AMN Healthcare International, where we give free lessons on the different examinations that are needed in order for you to work in the United States of America. Every first and third Monday of the month, it's the turn of 9.09er English to give you free lessons on the English exams that are needed for your US visa screen and license endorsement. For the second and fourth Monday of the month, it's the turn of NCLEX Review Center partners of AMN to give you free lessons on next generation NCLEX. But it's the third Monday of the month, so it's the turn of Sir Ervin and Sir Brian to share with you the tips, strategies that will help you pass various English examinations. But it's important to take note that IELTS and TOEFL are the recommended English exams of AMN because they are the ones accepted in almost all states. In 2021, during the pandemic, Sir Brian started with our online shop. And now we have more than a dozen books that help reviewees and examinees around the world to ace these English examinations. Ladies and gentlemen, let me present to you the author of our first book on Shopee and Amazon, none other than Coach Brian Martin Sioson, who got 9.0 in IELTS writing. That's why the first book is about IELTS writing. Coach Brian?
Hello, everyone. Yeah. I think I'm online. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the AMN Healthcare and 9.09er session here on the AMN page. And today we have an exciting topic because we're going to be talking about some of the references and guidebooks that you can utilize to prepare you for your various English exams. I know that sometimes preparing for English exams can be quite difficult for a lot of people, and a lot of the materials that are available right now are online, and that makes everything accessible. But for some individuals, it's not as easy as it is for most people for them, simply because they prefer using traditional materials like books or resources that will help them to get a feel of what they're learning. And I understand that online learning is not for everyone. And that's why we also have reference books for various English exams like the IELTS that you can use for your English exam preparation. Now, these books have specialized information that you won't really find inside your personal dashboard here at Niner if you're already enrolled. So if you're wondering, oh, will I get the same material when I enroll in the programs? Well, the answer to that question is that they're totally different because they're a little bit more specialized. For example, the IELTS writing book is a compilation of essay samples, and you don't really get that in the dashboard. So if you're looking for a compendium of written resources for the IELTS writing examination, then you might actually feel that the purchase of this book is beneficial for you. So if you're excited and up for that and want to learn about what available books we have for you, then stick around because we're going to talk about not only the titles of those books, but what benefits or contents they might have that you might actually find very useful in your preparation.
So earlier when I was on my phone, I shared on the comment section the books that we are going to talk about for tonight. As mentioned, we have more than a dozen books, but for this particular episode, we're only going to focus on the IELTS related books. And we have grammar and vocabulary books, not just for people who would like to pass English examination, but for anyone who would like to improve his or her proficiency in English. And we have a comment here from one of our live attendees. It's Solange who said, "Sir, I passed." Wow, that's the best news
Wow.
that we have heard since 9 p.m. We live difficult lives, waking up every single day, responding to concerns of our reviewees from 154 countries worldwide. We typically typically work from 6 a.m. all the way to 8 p.m. And on certain days that when we do late night Facebook Live sessions, it gets to be tiring, especially when you're working even on weekends. But when we read comments like that from our reviewees, that makes us feel fulfilled that despite a stressful day at work, still we are able to sleep at night knowing that our reviewees are able to get the required band score. So we would like to thank AMN Healthcare International for sponsoring the review program of the qualified nurses who would like to go to the United States. So if you know anyone who is a nurse who would like to go to the United States, but on a tight budget and looking for free, okay, not just affordable review program for English exams, I'm saying free, then send them over to AMN Healthcare International because AMN sponsors qualified nurses. Nurses who don't need to pay a single centavo, but nurses who enjoy unlimited review and daily one on one coaching in speaking and writing. So, congratulations once again to Miss Solange. So, don't forget to visit the link that you have just seen. This is the first step in order for you to jumpstart your application in going to the United States of America. Now, we would like to remind you that AMN Healthcare International is a company that helps nurses go to the United States, but it doesn't mean that only nurses can attend our live session for tonight. Anyone who would like to learn about the IELTS is welcome to join us for tonight. And keep those questions coming. Use the comment section because we are here in the next 25 to 30 minutes or so to help you win your English examinations. So let's talk about these books. As I've mentioned, we're going to focus on five. But Sir Brian, which book are we going to talk about first?
Of course, the first book that we would want to talk about is the first one that we released, which is none other than the IELTS Band 9 Essay Writing Guide. It's actually right there at the center of the photo. If you could see this shared photo. And Sir Ervin is showing you the hard copy of which, as you could see, the cover is so glossy. And we use high quality paper here because we understand that as a review guide, it is imperative that the paper quality is really good since you're going to write on it and you don't want it to be low quality paper when you're preparing for an English examination because I understand some of you will be highlighting and you don't want that to be showing to the other side of the page. So the paper is kind of thick. This book is published here in the Philippines, but surprisingly, it's also available overseas because this book is available on Amazon as a printed copy. So if you want to order this, Amazon is available in your place. You can order it not only here in the Philippines in our branches, but also overseas. Available on Amazon and Shopee. So let's talk about this book, Sir Irvin. This book is actually very special because I wrote it pre the age of AI. So
Mm-hmm.
before Chat GPT and everything. So don't accuse me of using Chat GPT here, guys, because this is actually written prior to the era of AI. Because a lot of people, I get that a lot. Like, oh, what you wrote is just written by Chat GPT or whatnot. I wrote it without Chat GPT. All right, so the guide is supposed to give you information on how you can possibly ace your English examination, particularly IELTS writing past to the essay writing part of the examination, and get the highest possible score with no flops. Because, I mean, when you go online, honestly, you see a lot of samples and you see a lot of write ups, and people would claim that, oh, this is going to give you a 7 or an 8 or an 8.5 or a 9, but sincerely and truthfully, they haven't really scored those grades in the real examination. So um, sometimes you're forced to write something that is beyond your capacity or that is totally unreal or unimaginable for a 40-second essay writing test. Only to find out that that's not even what is required in the IELTS. If you want to know what the examiners really want to see in a Band 9 essay, you should read this book. Look at all of the samples that are written here. No flops, they're going to give you a minimum of 8 up to a 9.0, depending on the generosity factor of your examiner. I have personally taken the examination, so I know what it looks like to get an 8 and above in the writing component. In fact, I've taken a few IELTS attempts already, and in all of those attempts, I've never scored lower than an 8.5 in the writing test. So it's either a 9 and an 8.5 for writing for me. So I know exactly what a 9 or band 9 sample looks like. And this is the one that you need if you want to simplify your life, because you will learn how to write at the band 9 level or band 8.5 level without having to give yourself a hard time. I promise. Because a lot of the books that you will read, a lot of the resources you're going to get online will lie to you and tell you this is the standard to get a 9.0 in the examination without really knowing personally what a band 9 sample would look like. This is the real deal, guys. If you want something that, oh, it's not perfect, but it could get you an 8.5 or a 9.0 without any gimmicks whatsoever, you could actually get this copy. Plus, it comes as well with a free course. So if you get it on Shopee, you get a bookmark with a QR code. It contains information on how you can access your free, I don't know, 2 to 3 month course where you can see samples or write ups, additional lessons that you're going to get. They're not found inside your dashboard. So if you want to avail this is available on Shopee and on Amazon. The IELTS Band 9 Essay Writing Guide is the orange book that Sir Irvin showed you a while ago. One of the favorites, by the way, Sir Irvin, of our enrollees and also the customers from Shopee. It's one of the top sellers there, right? And certainly it's going to help you to wing your IELTS writing exam. So, Sir Irvin, I was wondering, writing is indeed one of the hardest parts of the examination for IELTS, is it not?
That's correct. In fact, if you look at the global average, most people, not just in the Philippines, but most people worldwide typically get the lowest average in the writing subtest. Now,
Mhm.
just to put things into perspective, if you're a Filipino, the easiest subtest for you is listening. Our national average in listening is higher than 7, followed by the speaking subtest at 6.8. Now, you might think, okay, so speaking is not our weakness at all because 6.8 is actually the second highest. It's just that if you are a nurse who would like to work in the United States, 7 is the requirement. So notice that our national average of 6.8 is lower than the lower than the required band score to work as a nurse in the United States. Moving on to the third subtest. Reading, our national average is 6.3, and the lowest is writing at 6.1. So, as mentioned by Sir Brian earlier, a lot of people are looking for a review material in writing because most IELTS candidates worldwide usually get the lowest grade in the writing subtest. To sum up the content of that book contains several questions. And mind you, the actual questions are recycled. They come out again and again. So don't be surprised if whatever you encounter in Sir Brian's writing book is exactly the same question that you are going to encounter in the actual examination, because what we did is to compile the most common questions and we've provided the answers for you. I remember when one student told me, Sir, thank you so much for being so benevolent that you have provided us with actual examination questions. However, don't you think it's a lot better if you could also provide us with answers? Well, we heard you. That's why Sir Brian came up with that book. So it's a book containing the most common questions in writing task 2 and model essays. Plus, it comes with a free online course. So, wherever you are, it does not matter as long as you live in a habitable continent. Amazon is there to deliver your book. Now, let's move on to the most important subtest in IELTS, and that is the speaking subtest. Remember, if you're a nurse going to America, it doesn't really matter whatever grade you get in listening, reading, and writing, provided that your speaking is 7 and your overall band is 6.5. That's why we tapped back then our IELTS academic head coach, none other than Miss Diane Nivera Milan, who, by the way, is not a nurse by profession, but finished a degree in creative English writing. And English creative writing from one of the top performing universities in the Philippines. There's St. Louis University in Baguio City. Well, Sir Brian was in charge of the layout. Miss Diane provided the content. So, Sir Brian, what's the difference between the IELTS writing book and the IELTS speaking book of Miss Diane?
Oh, Sir Ervin, I remembered your statement a while ago that a lot of our students are looking for answers. And when it comes to the speaking examination, oh my goodness, how can we provide answers for you when we don't really know you? I mean, it's really hard to figure out an answer for like what do you do or what do you like eating if we don't even know you, right? So the purpose of this book, which is the IELTS speaking guide for 7.0 and up, is to provide for you example questions and also sample responses for them. This is not to say you're going to memorize them and you're going to actually just say the same things to your examiner, but this will help you to figure out what a good response would be in the speaking examination of the IELTS for the various parts of the test. Like what looks good in IELTS Part 1? What would be an appropriate response in IELTS Part 2? And in part three, how can you make your answers a bit more convincing or persuasive? These are the things that you will learn from the yellow book because in your dashboard, you will see a list of questions there, the questions that we have compiled over the years, as Sir Irvin was talking about a while ago, but there are no answers there. If you want sample responses, which you can probably use as a pattern on how you're also going to structure your responses in your real examination, or just to probably get some inspiration of this is the perfect book for you. It will not only familiarize you with plenty of questions or topics that you can really encounter in the actual test, but also potential answers for them. And as well, if there is a question, for example, that you don't really know anything about, you haven't researched before, you have never encountered, there will be an answer here that will help you to learn more about that topic without having to research on your own. And you would also know how the answer is structured so that it's simple, it's streamlined, and it gives you high impact or the best possible results for your performance. You don't have to complicate your answers, and that's what you're going to learn in this book. There are many questions that are responded to here in different approaches and styles. So you would also learn, for example, how to answer questions in a more intellectual way or how to answer questions that you're not very familiar with in a sort of personal and more relatable way. So it's not kind of boxed and fixed to teach you one type of answering in the examination. The different strategies and how to approach various questions in the examinations that you're going to be taking would also be found in this book. And also, it comes with a free course. So, and I personally like the cover of this book. Honestly, it looks so posh. Like the yellow here is really bright and energetic. So, yeah, love the book.
Guys, the main difference between the speaking subtest and writing subtest. For essay writing, it's just one nature. You have to write 250 words, regardless of the topic. But for the speaking subtest, there are three tasks. So when you read the task one portion of this book, you will notice the responses are short, straightforward, and direct to the point, because in the actual examination, the examiner will only allow you to talk for about 30 seconds. So what's the point of giving you very lengthy model responses when you are unlikely to finish your answers in the actual exam? But for task two, you will notice a sudden shift. This is the speech, meaning to say you need to, as much as possible, reach the second minute. No wonder why the responses in this book for task two are super lengthy. And this is to help you become the most talkative person in the world, providing as many details as you can. Look at the big difference. Task one, around 30 seconds per question, but task two, up to 2 minutes. Then for task three, this is when it gets tricky because most of the questions here are follow up questions to whatever answers you've given in task two. And most of the questions in task three are conceptual. No wonder why some of the more complex and more complicated topics in the IELTS have been discussed in the part three portion of this book. So, what makes this book so special? Miss Diane highlighted the creative words, the unique phrases in this book that you might want to bring with you when you take the actual examination. And remember, between speaking and writing, speaking is the more important subtest for you to work in the United States. So, two books down and three more books to go. Sir Brian, which one would you like to talk about next? Is it our 2025 listening and reading book? Or perhaps you might want to consider the more general books of grammar and vocabulary. Which one are we going to talk about next?
I think our audience will be most interested in our new release for the year 2025. Oh, that's amazing, right? And I would like to talk about the new book.
A much bigger book.
Uh, yeah, it's two times bigger than the origin, the other review books that we have published. So it's twice bigger and twice better. So this is the IELTS Listening and Reading Maroon Edition, or our 2025 IELTS Listening and Reading compilation. So we have writing, we have speaking, already released previously, but we didn't have listening and reading before, and a lot of people were clamoring for it for a time. So we said, okay, why not? Here is our IELTS listening and reading compilation. So, what's in this book? It contains new and original, which means we have written everything here. Samples for listening and reading in the IELTS. And these are supposed to expose you, ideally, to the various types of questions that you will encounter both in listening and reading in different difficulty levels. So you get the questionnaire, you also get the answer key, you also get the audio, by the way. It's very easy to access the audio. Just scan the QR code, and there you go. You can access the audio files instantly and listen to the recordings as many times as you want because they're uploaded on the site anyway. So you don't need CDs here anymore. That's so arcane. That's so 2000s. So we don't give you CDs anymore. Probably there's your computer or your laptop doesn't have a CD player anymore. My goodness, but you're gonna get QR codes that contain the listening recording. So that's so amazing. And then, most importantly, you get the explanations. So you get here the transcripts
Mm,
for listening. So you can read the transcripts just in case you miss an answer and you want to clarify or rationalize why you missed an answer. The transcript is there. And for the reading examination, we also have the explanations to get the answers. So if you're that kind of person who's so tired of looking at exams, like sample tests and receiving results without any kind of explanation whatsoever, this is perhaps the perfect book for you. This is the book that you're looking for that will give you the explanations to why you got the answers right or why you didn't get you didn't get the answers. So yeah, it's a very useful material, and it's heavy, it's thick, it's also bigger. So the letters are bigger. So we took into consideration the real experience of taking an IELTS on paper test because you're not going to be writing on a small piece of paper when you're taking IELTS on paper. So it's big, like the font is almost the same size as the real printed copy of the IELTS. So it's going to give you a very authentic experience. Just make sure that you allocate enough time to complete one exercise and it feels like the real thing.
okay, guys, if you've noticed the first two books, the ones that I've shown you earlier, they're smaller. They are the ones available on Amazon and Shopee. So this 2025 book, as mentioned, it's published recently. That's why this one is not available on Amazon. Not yet, but hopefully soon we're going to get the approval from Amazon to make this available internationally. Remember, that we those two books we have catered to most nationalities around the world, and hopefully before the year ends, this book will also be approved by Amazon. So let's have a recap of the three books that we have for IELTS. Our first book, Writing, available on Shopee and Amazon. Our second book, Speaking, available in all habitable continents. And the third one, Listening and Reading, 2025 edition, available in the Philippines for now while we are waiting for approval from Amazon. But fret not, because if you are preparing for both IELTS and TOEFL, or you just want to improve the quality of your English, we also have two more books. One is for grammar, and the other one is for vocabulary. For those of you who do not know, both grammar and vocabulary matter in writing and speaking, and not just for IELTS, but literally for all English examinations, grammar and vocabulary matter. So, Sir Brian, what's the big difference between grammar and vocabulary?
Well, Sir Ervin, by the way, before I answer that question, did you know, guys, that our number one bestseller is that purple book right there, the Grammar Essentials, which is actually a compilation of lessons for grammar. That is probably because a lot of Filipinos are struggling with their grammar, and grammar is useful not only in IELTS or TOEFL, but in general life. So we have a lot of other people who are buying this book, even if they're not taking an English exam. But to answer your question, Sir Irvin, these are very identical to each other in terms of the layout. So what are you going to get in the two books? Mainly, you get information and lessons about grammar, like the parts of speech, how to use different parts of speech in different circumstances, and also some examples on their usage, all of the rules, and also some exercises. Same with vocabulary, teaches you how to understand words that you've never encountered in your life through context clues. It provides for you information as well on how to add variety to your language and how to avoid common mistakes in vocabulary. We actually make those common errors in usage, and all of those errors, the common ones, are listed in this book, so you can help yourself to diagnose your problems and to avoid those mistakes in the real life conversations or in writing. So, um, most of our students enjoy so much the exercises that are found in the book because they get to learn what their common mistakes are by answering those drills, and realizing your mistakes or realizing your weaknesses will help you to be more aware of your shortcomings, and also try to remedy them along the way by figuring out how to improve in those areas. So if there's particularly a grammar error that is very commonly made by you, then you can address that through the use of the books. And there's so many practical examples that you can find in this book. So if you're finding your level of vocabulary or grammar to be a little bit weak, then these are going to be very helpful for you. And they're both, I think, available on Amazon right now. So you can go ahead and purchase them as well on Amazon. And yeah, they're top sellers because, again, everybody can make use of these books, even if you're not taking an English exam, or even if you've taken your English exam already and you're just trying to improve how to communicate in a foreign language like English in an English speaking community. This is going to be very helpful for you.
So, Sir Brian, I have a question. How affordable are these books in the Philippines and in other countries? I understand that in the Philippines, the prices of the books are fixed. But what about for Amazon? Does it matter where they live? Is it more expensive in certain countries or more affordable in certain parts of the world?
Yeah, that's a very interesting question. Here in the Philippines, our books could be as low as 649 pesos on Shopee. And of course, you want to take advantage of all of the Shopee discounts. So you go order when there's a sale, or when it's whatever, like 7788. Go ahead and schedule your purchase so you can get the most in-store discounts and get the best deals on Shopee. But on Amazon, actually, it's available in different countries. But the prices of the books actually range depending on the title. We have titles that are 9.99 only, so that's even cheaper on Amazon. That is roughly less than 600 bucks in Philippine pesos. So you can purchase your Amazon copies for a much cheaper price. Of course, that doesn't include delivery, so you have to also factor in how much it's going to cost for shipping. So they're fairly affordable, especially for the material that you're going to get. The only difference is you get a bookmark in the Philippines. So that means to say you get extra, like free lessons. That's why it's a little bit more expensive. And if you're buying them on Amazon, you only get the book. So you don't really get the free courses. But again, the books are so informative. So they're already good as they are. The lessons are just extra.
For our live viewers, we always listen to you. In fact, this started as an accident in 2021. Whatever our students recommend, whatever questions, concerns they have, we listen. That's why we provide what our students are looking for. So, what other topics in IELTS are you looking for? Are you interested in a writing task one, statistical writing book? Let us know your thoughts in the comments section. So, right now, we fire from all cylinders, providing IELTS examinees nationwide and worldwide more helpful tips and strategies in order for them to pass the exam. If you are looking for face to face classes in the Philippines, 9.09er offers IELTS face to face review in 21 cities nationwide. If you are not available to attend face to face classes, it's the online platform that we recommend. In fact, right now, we conduct classes from as early as 9 in the morning all the way to 11 p.m. Philippine time. So that's like 13 to 14 hours of live and interactive lectures every day. If you cannot watch the live and if you cannot attend the live and interactive sessions, we have recorded lessons uploaded on the dashboard. But for some people, learning for them means one-on-one coaching. That's why AMN sent all their nurses to us because of the daily one-on-one coaching that the nurses get to enjoy. Unlimited, this means to say for as long as they want to have the one-on-one coaching session, we are going to accommodate them. But most people are asking for how long do nurses typically prepare for the US? Most of the time, we say 1 to 2 months. And if there are people who don't want lengthy review programs, they just want a book. We have the books on Shopee and Amazon. And for people who are technologically savvy and would like to have AI incorporated as part of their preparation, we also have AI powered writing correction. And if you're in the Philippines, we also process your exam registration for free. And we also have discounts for the actual exam. And right now in the Philippines, we are not just a review center, we are also the official testing center in 12 key cities nationwide. Meaning to say, anything, everything that you need in your IELTS preparation, there's just one name to remember, and that's 9.09er. Come the first Monday of August, we are going to feature another IELTS passer. And third Monday of August, I'm going to be with Sir Brian once again for another fun-filled session. Now, what are the topics that you would like us to cover for Mondays from now? All you have to do is to use the comment section, and we are going to consider that so that we can announce ahead of time the topic for our August 3rd Monday session. And I think we have a comment here from Ronel Baez Alano. He said, AMN good, PTE good. So AMN, of course, is a good agency that will help you to go to the United States. Well, PTE is one of the examinations screen and license endorsement. But the problem is it will not open opportunities to the entire United States because there are certain states that do not accept PTE and other English exams. That's why AMN Healthcare International would like us to focus on IELTS and TOEFL because they are the ones accepted by all states. Once again, Sir Brian and I would like to thank you for your time tonight. If you haven't had the opportunity to encounter us, we are our books, all you have to do is to look for Niner on Shopee and Amazon. Once again, thank you so much for tonight, and we hope to see you on this Monday, August. Thank you and goodbye.